So our remodel is still happening, and so we are still living on our little boat out in the yard. You might hear some saws in the background. And I've got some background music, a CD of ocean waves to make it seem like we're really on the water. We decided to make turtle chocolate chunk caramel brownies, but I don't have an oven on this boat. I have just a little stovetop. And I looked up a recipe, found it by another boater online, decided to write it down and try it. So we went and got all the ingredients, which are chocolate cake mix, a small can of evaporated milk, bag of caramels, I'm not using all of them, and Trader Joe's chocolate chunks. You could probably use just regular Nestle chocolate chips. Then I've got my bake packer from my backpacking days. This makes a boil bake oven on your stovetop. My saucepan is just the right size. Here, let's get this glare down. Saucepan is just the right size to hold the bake packer with some water to boil. Make sure there's enough to boil for 30 minutes. We put the bake packer down in it, and I have this Backpacker's fry pan, relatively small. When I'm ready to put the brownies in, I'm going to butter it, and it'll set on top the bake packer and go down into my stock pot with a nice tight fit lid on top. What I'm going to do is I mixed up the batter. What I put in there 3/4 cup of melted butter. I went ahead and started boiling that so I could melt the butter like a bain-marie in this. 3/4 cup butter, mix the cake mix, and the evaporated milk, just 3 ingredients. So I'm going to take about half of it, put a nice layer in here after I butter it, boil bake it for 6 minutes, and then Linnea, say hi to the audience. Hi! She helped me by peeling some of these caramels. We're going to melt them on the stove. So then after half of this bakes for about 6 minutes, we'll have 1 layer of brownie on the bottom, and we'll open the lid, and we'll pour the caramel in, and then we'll pour the chocolate chunks in. Maybe not all of them. We might have to eat some of them.
Maybe a couple of them.
We'll eat a couple. And then we'll put the rest of the brownie mix on top, and we'll boil bake it for another 25 minutes, and then we'll get brownies out of it. Okay. And then we'll come back to the video and show the audience the finished product when we're done. Okay, so we finished up, all done, and it actually took longer. So I've got an alcohol-based oven, and you can't get a really hot flame, so it wasn't a roaring boil. And I thought it would take 30 minutes because that's what the suggestions were, but in my stove it actually took an hour and a half. They're still gooey, but that's kind of how you want brownies. And you have to make sure you have enough fuel in there before you get started, because you don't want to run out of fuel before it's done cooking. So I want you to see how this turned out. When I've done boil baking before on other camping stoves, I've had a propane stove, and it didn't take as long, and I could follow the recipes more directly. Covered it with foil because a boil bake is moist, and you don't want to puddle on top of your brownies. This came with my Backpacker's fry pan. It's a way of clamping onto it and not getting burned. There we are. Oh, lovely. So it's got this cakey appearance all the way through. I kept checking it, but every time you check it, you skew the baking time because you're letting heat escape. As I checked it, it was still kind of soupy in the middle, so I waited until it looked like it was cakey, like bubbles had formed. Just bring the camera over. I don't know if you can see that very well, but the caramel's inside. We did that top layer. And let me dig into it. Let's get a fork. Like spoon. It's ooey gooey. Put it on here. And I should probably let it set because it's got hot caramel in it. Oh, but this would be good with ice cream. If only my itty bitty refrigerator here had a decent freezer. Oh yeah, drippy caramel bits in there with chocolate chips. Look at that caramel. Mmm. My daughter's gone down for a nap, and now I have my son up. He was sleeping when we were cooking it. Hi, you want a taste? Oh yeah, that's good. So, boil bake for an hour and a half if you've got a alcohol-based stove. Oh, yep. Okay, ready? Mmm. Okay, so to recap, that was 3/4 cups butter, 3/4 of a cup butter, melted, 1 box of chocolate cake mix, a little can of evaporated milk. Those 3 ingredients stirred up, made a really thick batter. And then you have a boil bake oven, great big stock pot, with a little grate in the bottom, and then a pan that fits down inside of it, and a lid that secures firmly over the top. Then when we get started, we put a little layer of cake batter on the bottom, and we bake it for about 6 to 10 minutes. And then while it's baking, we melt the caramel, some caramel squares, pour it on top, lift the lid and pour it on top. Oh, you want more. Along with some chocolate chips, and then put the rest of the batter on top. Put the lid back on and keep boiling. And all total, it took us an hour and a half to bake that thing. But this is so good. Num num num.